in the sum of 1 billion naira to their personal use between August 25, 2015 and March 21, 2016 in Abuja. The Commission said the amount formed part of 2.5% contingency funds belonging to the Bureau of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs. The EFCC also noted that both committed an offence contrary to Section 315 of the Penal Code. Celestina Iria, TVC News, Abuja.
President Bola Tinubu has transmitted 4 fiscal policy and tax reform bills to the National Assembly for its consideration and passage. The fiscal policy and tax reform bills by the Federal Inland Revenue Service for consideration include the Nigeria Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. The proposed tax reform bills are contained in a letter addressed to the President of the Senate and read on the floor of the Upper Legislative Chamber at Thursday's plenary session. We have more in this report.
The proposed tax bills present substantial benefits to align with my government's objectives and fiscal reform and economic growth by enhancing taxpayer compliance, strengthening our fiscal institutions, and fostering a more effective and transparent fiscal regime. In this way, I am confident that these bills, once passed into law, will encourage investment, boost consumer spending, and stimulate the Nigerian economy. While I trust that the Senate will, in their usual expeditious manner, consider and enact these bills into law, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
4 bills for Mr. President opens the day's legislative business. The Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, acknowledged the receipt of the 4 tax reforms. In the correspondence, President Tinubu tells the lawmakers the proposed laws are designed in line with the goals and objectives of his administration. The bills include the Nigerian Tax Bill 2024, which seeks to provide the fiscal work for tax in the country. There's also the Tax Administration Bill, which will provide clear and concise legal framework for all taxes in the country and reduce disputes.
I'm confident that these bills, once passed into law, will encourage investment, boost consumer spending, and stimulate the economy.
Others are the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, which will create a tax tribunal and a tax ombudsman. President Bola Tinubu asks for the timely passage of the bills. The House also adopted the report of its Committee on Loans, Aids and Debt Management on the establishment of the Promissory Note Program as reimbursement to Nasarawa and Kebbi states. The 24 billion naira is for the takeover of cargo airports and the development of Sir Ahmedu Bello International Airport by the federal government.
That the House do approve a promissory note program as reimbursement to Nasarawa and Kebbi state government for the takeover of the newly constructed cargo airports.
A bill to establish the Nigerian Surrogacy Regulatory Commission, sponsored by Oyo member, passed second reading.
As surrogacy contracts are unregulated in Nigeria, the contractual obligations of surrogacy may cause serious harm to surrogate mothers due to the infringement of their rights and increased risk of injury.
Outside the chambers, Mr. Alawa Akala calls on youth to actively participate in the upcoming Youth Confab, announced by President Bola Tinubu in his Independence Day anniversary speech.
That this National Youth Conference will not be like other conferences, because we have one thing: we have the strength in numbers and we have the social media. And 3, we have the fact that it was initiated by the government themselves.
He says the confab is an opportunity for youths to voice out their concerns and contribute to national development.
The Interministerial Committee on Evaluation of Dams in Nigeria has met for the first time to put modalities in place to ensure a critical evaluation of the physical condition of all dams in the country. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Utsev, says the committee will also work to establish the Disaster Relief Fund and review measures to forestall future disasters. Kemi Balogun reports.
On the 23rd of September, the Federal Executive Council meeting resolved to set up a disaster relief fund to help address instances of national disasters. Ministers at this inaugural meeting of the Interministerial Technical Committee are expected to ensure that henceforth there is always a comprehensive evaluation of dams. They will also ensure an assessment of the social and environmental implications of destructions on local communities as they draw up a framework to address the challenges of dams in the country.
This was necessitated by the breach of the Alao Dam in Maiduguri and the other critical dams in the country that needs maintenance or rehabilitation. And Mr. President graciously, as the chairman of the Federal Executive Council, constituted this technical committee with its membership to look into the situation and come up with recommendations to alleviate the challenges, the disasters that Nigeria is facing as a result of flooding and other critical situations in the country.
We have seen how flood waters have ravaged many communities in Nigeria, particularly in Borno State. We are still grappling with that disaster, and government is proactively looking at the situation with a view to averting its reoccurrence.
Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy says the government has allocated funds under a renewed infrastructure to support the rehabilitation of dams and irrigation facilities.
Funding was provided earlier this year, just before the commencement of the heaviest of the rainy season. For every state in the Federation were given funds runs into billions in order to prepare themselves.
The creation of a project delivery unit to provide technical support to the committee throughout the period of its assignment has also been considered. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
Still ahead on the news tonight, the Rivers State House of Assembly calls for suspension of the local government election scheduled for 5th of October.